Okay, everybody smile. You're getting on camera.
And Susie, you're going to get a couple good pictures sometime of this, right?
Oh, I love it. Look at her playing.
Susie taking pictures? Okay, good. You're on television.
Hi, my name is Angela Breidenbach, and I'm a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and I happen to be here in Missoula, Montana, a part of the Bitterroot chapter. And with me today, I'm excited to interview Miss Janice Hand, and she is with us from another chapter for a very special reason and a very special project. But Janice, welcome.
Thank you.
Would you tell us a little bit about your position in the Daughters of the American Revolution entire program? But then I'm so excited to hear what you have coming up.
Oh, good.
Who are you, Janice Hand?
I'm excited about it too. I'm Janice Hand. I am the Montana State Society's state chaplain. I also am co-chair of the Historic Preservation Committee. For one of the reasons for DAR is that we do patriotism, education, and historic preservation. I've gotten very interested in historic preservation as time has gone on. And my co-chair, Cheryl Genovese from Bozeman, and I have a project going where we are honoring the daughters who in the early 1900s put up dozens of historical markers and monuments across the state.
Wow.
There are 35 of them.
And are these things that people, as tourists to Montana, can actually see?
Yes.
How do we see them?
What's exciting about these historical markers is that where that sort of thing isn't a really big deal now, if you understand the historical context, back in 1915, for example, one of the stories on a historical marker in what used to be Armstead, which is now under a reservoir, 500 people or so came on the railroad from mainly Dillon, and they assembled near Armstead for the markers installation. It was a big deal. Speakers from all over, all the newspaper articles from way back when talk about what people, they dressed up, what they were wearing. There were speeches and picnics, and it was a wonderful big hairy deal. And most of them were at that point.
Right.
So in the early 1900s, DAR put these markers up, and most of them are still there. And so what we want to make sure is that the work of those original daughters and subsequent work of other generations who've kind of kept an eye on them doesn't get lost. We're updating it.
So these markers are being preserved, but they're also places people could maybe do geocaching, or maybe do a trip through Montana to understand and learn about Montana history. It'd be the perfect place to take your homeschoolers or a class project, a class trip. So do we have a map or places? How do we find these historic markers?
Well, the first thing we're doing is we have a number of sources of information on each of these. In 1970s and then again in the 80s, a DAR team got together and wrote everything up. Now, what's left of those are copies of copies of copies, which makes it a little difficult to see the pictures. You can read the words.
Right. They start to pixelate, they start to...
So what we did is we said, what can we do to make sure that we always know where these are? GPS.
Right.
So we're using modern technology where we've, each of our chapters went out for the markers in their area. For example, my chapter, I'm out of the Butte chapter, Silverbow chapter. We got together a bunch of us and we visited a couple in the Butte area. We drove down to Dillon, and there's one, for example, on the lawn of the museum. There's another tucked away. Now, I grew up in Dillon, and I did not know it
Dillon,
was
you
there.
can go see the one on the lawn, but then you can go in and see the museum.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
I also love
fabulous
history.
Well, and what's interesting as a side note, that museum was started by DAR.
Oh my goodness.
DRR is the reason that museum is there.
In Dillon.
Yeah.
What a great place to go.
Yes.
Now, what are the roads like to get to these different markers? Are they easy by car? Can somebody take an RV or a camper?
Almost all of them are accessible by car.
Wow.
There are a couple, for example, there's one right off of, out of Helena in the dam area at, oops, it's disappearing from me. let's see, one of them is at Gates of the Mountains. And really, you need to be on the boat tour, get off the boat tour, and hike up a little trail to get to it.
Okay, I think this is another great trip for
Oh,
families
yes.
and learning about Montana history and taking hikes together.
Yeah.
What better lifestyle?
Well, and we had a couple people who went out to do the work on that monument who said, I'm embarrassed, but I've never been there. They'd never taken the tour. So that's what they did.
Wow. So this is something that gives us the opportunity to take tours, gives us the opportunity to have family time together, to learn about the Daughters of the American Revolution, but to learn about Montana history, U.S. history, family time together, patriotism. Yes. This is amazing. Now, up and coming, you have another project that you're working on that's coming up because it's the 125th anniversary of the Daughters of American Revolution in Montana, correct?
Yes.
Tell us about that.
Montana was actually very early on a state that started Daughters of the American Revolution. The very first chapter was formed in Butte, when Butte was a city of, call it 90,000, was a big hairy deal.
It was a cosmopolitan place.
Yes.
It really was.
Yes, very much so. And it was a time where if you had to get from place to place, it would take a couple days stagecoach ride with a stay overnight someplace.
Wow.
So it was a much different time and place. But the ladies there started the DAR chapter after the state had been instructed to, given the okay to go. And so we've got next year, we will celebrate our 125th anniversary. And when you consider an organization of women, or of anyone, who's been around for 125 years, is still going strong.
It's amazing.
It is exceptional. And then when you add up all of the things that DAR has contributed, things that most people don't know about, World War I, World War II, the war efforts, support of schools, patriotism.
Our veterans.
Yes, and particularly recently our veterans. In many large and small ways, they kind of gather together. And one of the most interesting parts is just understanding the historical context. For example, as we read about the Silver Bow chapter's founding, we kept finding references in the newspaper articles that referred to delicate refreshments.
Oh, really?
Delicate refreshments were served.
What are delicate refreshments?
Well, we don't know. But we're assuming they were very small and very delicate.
Tea. They were having tea.
Yes.
I love it.
So now when we have treats at any of our meetings, they're delicate refreshments. So the 125th, though, is also going to give the history of each of our chapters, each of them formed in different times. And we've had chapters. There was a Beaverhead chapter, which was a very early one. It folded and the members came to the Butte chapter. And so we span both Butte and Dillon. And that's how we've kept most of our chapters going.
There are some amazing places to stay in Butte and find the history and do underground tours and learn. So this is something I think is just a wonderful opportunity to be involved in DAR's 125th. And there's a book coming.
There is a book coming.
I'm so excited because I want to be part of it.
Yes. Yes, the book will record all of this. The book will contain the updated history of all the markers as well, kind of chapter 2, part 2.
So you could take this book and you could take your kids on a vacation through the summer every weekend and go visit a different place.
Yes.
Or do your own little treasure hunt or your own GPS tracking to find everything and teaching your kids all sorts of different opportunities of education.
There's a marker over in Miles City on an officer's quarters.
Wow.
Officer's quarters in a fort, that's different.
Yeah.
There are markers for Sacagawea, a number of Lewis and Clark markers. Pompey's Pillar, the signatures were largely preserved by early DAR daughters. So to learn a little bit about the history and take that as a reason to delve further, to say nothing of Montana's a beautiful state. What's not to like about driving around and enjoying every bit of it?
I love it. Now, the 125th anniversary is next year,
Yes.
and Helena is going to be hosting the DAR conference next year,
Yes.
whereas Missoula and the Bitterroot chapter is hosting it this year. So do we know the dates for next year?
It's approximately the same time as now. The exact dates I don't know, but it'll be toward the end of April, within a day or two of right this very minute.
April 2019.
Yeah.
Janice Hand, you are awesome. What you're doing is awesome, the Preservation Project and the celebration, and we are blessed and honored to have you as a part of the Daughters of the American Revolution.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
You betcha.
It is the coolest project ever.
Hello, my name is Angela Breidenbach, and I'm here with the Daughters of American Revolution, the Montana State Conference, and we're excited to have our guest speaker is Miss Heather Watson-Green of the Kate Duncan Daughters of the American Revolution School. And my understanding is it's K through 12,
Yes, that's correct.
and it is where?
In Grant, Alabama, that's in the northeast corner of the state of Alabama.
And so you're here all the way from Alabama to Montana. What is it that brought you to Montana to talk to us
Well,
today?
your wonderful state regent here in Montana, Jane Hammond, has a fantastic project to assemble patriotic education boxes for one-room schoolhouses and small schools in Montana. And she was inspired when she visited our school in Alabama because we have a similar mission to what she's trying to accomplish here.
What is it that the mission of this school is, and how is the Daughters of the American Revolution involved?
Well, our school was founded by the Alabama Society Daughters of the American Revolution in 1924.
Wow.
And at that time, they established the mission of providing these children with a patriotic education, teaching them what it means to be an American citizen, and teaching them about the rights and responsibilities citizens in our country have.
Oh my goodness. And with K through 12, where is it that these kids are able to go after they've graduated from this school?
They can go anywhere they want to go. One of the things that the DAR support at our school is college scholarships. So we're able to help them pursue whatever dream they might have.
Oh my goodness, this is wonderful. How many students do you have in the school?
Just under 1,400.
1,400?
Yes.
I think that's almost bigger than any school here in Montana.
That is K through 12. We have about 100 students per grade.
That is amazing. And what's your participation level in that school? What do you actually do there?
I am the executive director, and my office is responsible for the private side of things. So we actually act as a public school within our community. Any
Wow.
child who lives in our district comes to our school free of charge on a school bus, just like any other public school. My office works with the DAR and our local community and other grant-making entities to fund other projects at the school that are not covered through public school funds.
Oh my goodness. And so your influence in this part of the organization is helping to raise up good citizens into the future. And you're helping us here in Montana do that as well.
Well, that's certainly our goal.
Oh my goodness, this is wonderful. So if you had something that you wanted to share about the Daughters of the American Revolution, about the Kate Duncan School, about educating your child to be a more patriotic citizen, what kinds of things would you share with us?
Well, I think it's fantastic to have these programs in the schools. Kids are there most of the time when they're in their youth. So to have these programs, to have the teachers and the influencers in the school working with kids on patriotic ideals and American values is really important. But a lot can be done at home as well. There are so many resources available to parents to be able to inspire their children to be better Americans.
What are some tips you could give some parents on how to inspire their children in patriotism and better U.S. citizenship?
I think the best thing that a parent can do is to set a good example. If you take your hat off when someone is singing the national anthem, if you teach your children to stand at attention and with their hand on their heart during the pledge, those are the things that a child remembers, is that their parents are setting that example and showing them the way.
Wow. And do you do the Pledge of Allegiance in school?
Every day.
Oh my goodness, that's such a blessing to hear.
It is.
And while you're here in Montana, is there anything you want to do?
Well, I'm doing it. I'm visiting with the great Montana Daughters. I'm seeing all this hard work coming to fruition. I hope I'll get to come back and visit some more of the beautiful scenery and sites and historic places here. But for right now, I'm doing it. This is really what I want to do here is watch what this project is going to make happen in Montana.
Oh, it's so exciting to have you here. Thank you so much
Thank
for being a
you.
part of it and for coming to visit us. Ms. Heather Green Watson, appreciate you.
Thank you so much. Thanks.
Hello, my name is Angela Breidenbach, and I'm a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution. And here we are in Montana, and this is our state conference, and I am blessed to have the opportunity to interview our state regent, and her name is Jane Lee Hammond. And Jane, I know that everybody would love to know more about the Daughters of the American Revolution and how you became our state regent. Why is it special to you to be in this position?
Oh, it's so special to me because I started out at my grandmother's knee saying, "Tell me your story." And one of my ancestors was Joseph Warner, and he named one of his grandchildren Milton Lafayette Warner. He was wounded at the Battle of Brandywine in September of 1777, and Milton Lafayette was named after the Marquis de Lafayette, who was wounded at the same battle.
You know what? I think we have something in common. One of my ancestors was also, in fact, I think 3 of my ancestors were at that battle. And, oh my goodness.
Yes.
So what was it that drew you to be a part of the Daughters of the American Revolution?
Because the Daughters of the American Revolution are a group of women interested in nonpartisan service to God, home, and country. And women who love America, who see that as a professional organization, we can make a real contribution to our communities and to our country.
Wow. And how long have you been state regent?
I was elected state regent in 2016. I'm serving a 3-year term, and every state regent has a project. My project is education, because I believe it is so very important that if we don't teach our heritage to every generation, it gets lost.
Oh, I so agree with you. Now, in this project, you're creating education, patriotic education boxes. And you're doing this for how many schools?
240 schools across Montana.
And what kind of schools are receiving this education?
First off, we're doing it for the smallest schools. We have more one-room schools in Montana than the rest of the country combined.
Oh my goodness.
There are about 200 schools that are one room in the United States. We have counted and found 72 of them in Montana. And so we will be going from Yak to Alzada and every spot in between in Montana, delivering these to those schools. And in between, there are 2-room schools and other small schools that we have identified that we're delivering these additional patriotic education resources.
Oh my goodness, I think that's wonderful. Now, we'd like to know if you would share with us a little bit about the map and how you put this project together.
All right. Well, it started out, I was going to do a couple of trunks with early American history for the Montana Historical Society to provide on loan to schools. Because our history, in the most part, starts with territorial history in 1865.
Right.
And we've got a very good emphasis on Indian education for all, but we are not doing anything with early American history. And we don't teach our founding, the early colonial days, and go forward into the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution, then our children are growing up not knowing what they need to be good citizens.
That's right.
And so I started out thinking that I would do a couple of trunks. It turns out that it's not a part of the regular curriculum, number one, and teaching to the test, which is what a lot of the schools do. And a lot of the schools can't afford to pay to have a trunk shipped back and forth from the museum in Helena.
So the practical side of it got in the way, which then blossomed into
This huge project, bigger than I ever thought it was going to be.
And across from us, what's happening is a lot of our daughters are over here working together to create these amazing boxes, these patriotic education boxes. And we have so many women working together that all of these 240 schools will each get a box. The teachers will be able to create curriculum and programs. It includes so many different opportunities. And yesterday morning, what happened?
Yesterday morning, we delivered the very first box to the very first school. We went in Missoula to Valley Christian School.
2 of my kids went there.
Really? It was wonderful. We met with the principal, and then we met with the teachers, and the kindergarten students had done a program the night before, so we walked in, and there was this big sign that said, Celebrate America.
Wow.
Well, my 3-year theme as regent is learn from the past, celebrate America, and then you will have hope for the future.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And so when I walked in and saw the Celebrate America sign, I said, do they know we're coming and that's the middle part of my theme? No, it was what was the name of the kindergartners program.
Oh my
So
goodness.
we stood under that sign of Celebrate America and presented the first box to them and went through it. It was just an astounding, amazing experience. They were thrilled with the material. They were excited to think that they're going to participate in the American History Essay Contest. This year, the teachers started talking to us already about how they're going to have classes participate using some of these materials.
So it's given more opportunity to teachers, and there are prizes that come with this. Is that
That's
true?
right. Prizes and scholarships.
Wow.
Yes.
All you need to know is a little bit about the Daughters of the American Revolution.
That's right.
And you can find us online as well and find out more about our
DAR.org.
DAR.org.
Right.
And you can find your local chapter at DAR.org as well. Jane, could you share with us a little bit about what is this map? What does it mean and why is it color-coded?
We have 10 chapters in Montana, and they are listed around the map. We gave a different color to each chapter, and they have started working with their schools and identifying all the one-room schools from Chasing Time and other resources and the other schools that they're going to deliver for. So we're in Missoula right now, and this is Missoula's green, and Bitterroot chapter will be delivering to these schools, and here is the list of Bitterroot and the schools that they will be delivered to. And the one we did yesterday is
Valley Christian.
Valley
right there.
Christian,
And I'm
right
just saying
there.
green for go.
That's great. Yes, and then you get over here and you see Shining Mountain. They are located in Billings, and you look at the vast territory they are going to be spending time delivering over quite a few months. We say that we will do our very best to get them out this spring and in the fall before the roads get too bad, but going all the way to Alzada and Little Hammond School on those country roads, from there all the way up to Yak in the corner, it is going to be a vast distance. And you look over here at Milk River chapter and all those counties that they're trying to cover, and we still didn't quite make it. We just don't have any daughters that can travel quite that distance to cover the entire state, but we're close.
But let me tell you one little thing from history that makes this really special. The women of Montana in 1893 went across all of the state collecting seeds, flora, and fauna, and they took them to the 1893 World's Fair. But they did it by traveling across the state, just like the Daughters of the American Revolution are doing today, this time doing it service into the state. And it is an amazing parallel in history and why the Daughters of the American Revolution are so special in the world today still. We invite you to be a part of the Daughters of the American Revolution by going to DAR.org and finding your own chapter. And we're going to have Jane now share with us what's in these school boxes. And now, Jane, I understand that you have personally chosen the different items that are in this box. Can you tell us what are in the We the People Patriotic Education boxes? Tell us about those projects.
All right, first there's the Patriotic Education resources for the teachers and the students. And it's 313 pages of materials, including a first introduction with all kinds of general information on the U.S. flag. And then we go to some of the lesson plans in music. We think music is critically important for the students because many of them retain more when they can sing it. And we have Patricia Waddell, who was the first $500 scholarship winner
Wow.
in the DAR Helen Pouch Memorial Fund gift last year, she wrote a lesson plan honoring our veterans. So these are pictures of her students in Billings. Then after we do the music, we've got 2 songs of liberty that support it. One is a CD with the national anthem and numbers of songs. This is a Home on the Range and Our Beloved America and America the Beautiful. And then we have the Kate Duncan D.A.R. Smith School CD of the 4th grade students singing their favorite patriotic songs. There are pictures here of the kids celebrating and singing their songs, and me at the Kate Duncan Smith School. That's a D.A.R. school in Alabama. That actually was one of the inspirations for me to go ahead with this. I spent 2 days at the Kate Duncan Smith School as a new DAR regent. We visited the schools. That's one of our schools. It's the only school that is a public school and a patriotic school teaching the DAR handbook for new citizens as part of its curriculum. And so when they sang those songs at the dedication of the gifts from the DAR, I had tears in my eyes because they were so smart. They knew so much about the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. And so with that, I came back and said, we will do music for our boxes.
It's wonderful, and I believe that must be how you decided to have Heather come for our speaker.
That's exactly right. So Heather is here. The other thing, several hundred pages of information on self-governance. That is so important. And I started out 1,000 years before the colonists arrived on this land, that Iroquois Nation had a system of self-governance, and it helped inform the writing of our U.S. Constitution. The clans elected a leader, and the leader went to the tribe from all the clans, and then the tribes elected their leaders that went to the Long House. So we wrote a whole article on the Long House.
I love
the
how you
Iroquois
included the real deep generational parts of our how our country came to be.
Right.
It didn't just come to be in 1776.
No, that's exactly right. So the next major step for liberty for mankind was the Magna Carta in 1215. So we have a whole section on the Magna Carta, and during colonial times, Paul Revere designed the first paper money in the colony. He did a 40-shilling note, and this is a picture of it, and you'll see that from hundreds of years before, he put the Magna Carta in one hand and he put the sword in the other, and the Latin is, with peace through the Magna Carta and liberty, but we will defend it to the death. So that is the August 1775 first paper money in the colonies.
That is amazing.
And this whole book is filled with information like that. There are 65 pages on the Constitution, on what it means and who wrote it and how they did it. There's a game here for K through 12, Washington spies. And the kids can follow on the map and chase the spies and write the codes and hang things on clotheslines to show do the same kind of things that Washington's spies did.
Now, Jane, is there any way that homeschoolers could get hold of this material? Can they contact you and buy a copy?
Yes, we'd love to provide a copy.
How would they contact? How would homeschoolers or even public school students whose parents want them to learn more about this patriotic education, or even just to get the game, how would they contact you to get that?
I think the best way is probably montanadar.org.
MontanaDAR.org. And is it MT or is it spelled out?
It's spelled out.
Montana, spelled out, MONTANA, DAR.org. And that's how you can contact Jane Hammond and the Daughters of the American Revolution to purchase your own American Patriotic kit.
Right. And so it goes on, and then there's another whole section, George Washington and Thanksgiving. People think the Pilgrims did the first Thanksgiving. Other people think Abraham Lincoln did it. But it was actually George Washington who wrote the first proclamation for Thanksgiving. And going back to the eagle that the Longhouse had at the top of their tree, we selected the eagle to be on the national emblem. And it's on all of our money. And so the theme of the eagle, overall for freedom, has soared. And there are the 13 colonies. And e pluribus unum. So many people don't know that anymore. Out of many, one. We are a nation of immigrants, but under one flag, we become one.
Wow.
So there's a whole bunch of material about that. The next chapter is historic preservation. And we have all of the monuments that we've done in Montana that the Daughters of the American Revolution done. And we have 2 real daughters in Montana who were descendants from Patriots who moved west and who are buried here. So we have looked up their information. Then we have all the historic information from the national. So
What you mean by real daughters are they were the actual daughters from those men.
who became members of DAR.
Oh my goodness.
The first generation of daughters in DAR. So,
Wow.
So they were members, yes. Very, very special
They were
people.
still alive when
Yes,
this came to
they
be.
were still alive. Then we have all of the National Society historic information. So that, and then we have a last chapter on resources. And we have lots of material on DAR and other sources where you can get things about the sons of the American Revolution, the daughters or the children of the American Revolution.
Now
and
tell
other
us a little
resources.
bit about, you've got the Constitution and a
Right.
book. Tell us about that.
Well, this is the American Patriots Almanac, and we love it because every single day of the year, if you want to teach a portion of history, there is a whole paragraph on one important item and 3 or 4 other items that they can use. For example, yesterday I opened this book at Valley Christian when we were there. On April 26, 1607, 3 small ships sailed from England into Chesapeake Bay in what is now Virginia. 104 colonists came ashore, and that was the beginning of Jamestown.
Wow.
So that was the beginning.
So this tells you basically every day of the year what special thing happened in
Right.
U.S. history.
Right.
That is amazing.
Yeah, and so people can use that every day of school. And I told them yesterday, it's got 7 days in it. You only have school for 5, so pick the 5 that you like the best for the week.
What
Yeah.
else? Is there anything else that's in this box?
Did I mention the Songs of Liberty CD?
Yes, you did.
Oh, okay.
And
It's
now,
got
if
wonderful
somebody
songs.
did want to purchase this box for their homeschool program, maybe there's a group of homeschoolers, what do you think the cost would be to those people?
Well, we have it all digitized now, and so we can do it at a reasonable cost. I frankly haven't had time. We're still
Okay.
in the production to
So you
figure that
could-
out. But we could do it at a very reasonable cost
Okay.
for them.
Awesome.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Jane Lee Hammond, for being with us here today. We appreciate you being available for our MCAT interview to help people learn more about the Daughters of the American Revolution, these educational boxes, and how special it is to be a U.S. citizen. The juniors are people that are under 40, and they're pins that you can buy that are commemorative, but quite a few of the pins can only be worn if you've earned them. So you cannot purchase a pin unless you have earned it. And there's certain pins, though, that everybody can have, which is like the DAR emblem that you wear just for being a member. You can have that. But there's other pins that, say, if you're a state regent or something like that, that you can only wear those. And then because it represents DAR, you only wear it for DAR events, and you wouldn't wear it out. So a lot of ladies will cover it with a scarf if they're leaving, or if they're in a different arena where it shouldn't be shown. That kind of a thing. Hi, my name is Angela Breidenbach, and I'm a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution, and one of the ladies that helped me to become a member of the Bitterroot chapter is Mrs. Blanche Tate. And I am just delighted to be with her. She is, as she puts it toward everyone else, precious. And Blanche, I would like to know, how did you become a Daughters of the American Revolution member, and why?
Well, I wasn't a ladies' club person, but my mother wanted to join DAR. And so I had 2 good friends who were in DAR, Virginia Glore, who was Judge Glore's wife, and Ruth Phillip. And they decided that the easiest way to get my mother in was to get me in. And then I could then we'd take my mother in on my papers. Well, that's what happened, and it was about 1978 when we started, and it took about 2 years to get all the proofs and everything that I needed.
So that's 40 years.
Yeah.
You've been a DAR member for 40 years?
Yep.
That's amazing. And I'm brand new because of you.
Well, I love doing it. I love genealogy, and I love all the fun places it takes you to, and so I love helping others.
Oh,
Get
it's
into
been really
DAR.
neat to have you. And you are our chapter regent.
Right.
What made you want to be the chapter regent, and what does that mean?
I became chapter regent because I was forced into it. And it means a lot of work, but it's really rewarding. And it's just, when I found out we had to do the state convention, I just did a real double take. But it's been wonderful. It's been wonderful for the chapter. It's brought us all together. We've gotten to know each other. Everybody has pitched in and helped. It's just been a marvelous experience.
Volunteerism is a big part of DAR, isn't it?
Oh yes, that's what we're all about. It's a service organization.
So you have a really neat program going within the DAR, and I know it has to do with every chapter of the DAR, but you're in charge of making sure we have somebody handling our history, aren't you?
Oh yes.
And who handles our history right now?
Well, right now we have a historian. Every chapter has a historian. They're the ones that do the scrapbooks. And our scrapbook is absolutely amazing. We have the most incredible historian ever.
So this is the Patriotic chapter's book that is our history book, and it's a scrapbook. It's been leather tooled, and it is a Patriotic flower right here. And you have told us that someone about 25 years ago
Maybe 20, maybe 15 or 20.
actually made this for us.
Yes, she
Be-
was the regent then.
Okay, and it was because ours fell apart?
Yeah.
Yeah. So what do we do with all that history?
Well, at the end of the year, it goes, along with the minutes and the treasurer's reports, it goes to the Montana State Archives at the university. And we have a special collection there that has been going on since 1918.
Wow.
So
And it's available to the
it's
public?
available to everybody.
Wow.
And it's fun. It's almost a history of Missoula because there's so much going on. Some of the World War II years, or World War I years, were really hilarious. But the World War II years, we met every train with buddy boxes.
Wow.
All the things that we did over the years, it's really fun
So
stuff. to
as
go
of
through.
right now, there's 100 years of history, plus or minus.
Yep,
in
as
that-
of a couple months from now.
Wow, in the University of Montana archives. And inside this beautiful leather-bound book
Well,
says,
let's see. The first part deals with the national officers. The second part deals with the Montana State officers. And then there's a chapter history, and then the chapter officers, and then the chapter's members, and then the programs, and all the things we did that made the newspaper or that didn't. We have photographs of different things and stuff. And then at the end is the obituaries.
which is special because they're people who've given parts of their lives to serving the Daughters of the American Revolution in the United States and Montana.
That's so true.
And inside each one of these scrapbook pages is done so nicely to commemorate, to share, to talk about the programs and some of the things that we get to do and that I just got to take part in was going to the new citizenship.
Oh, the naturalization ceremonies. We do that 3 or 4 times a year here. Nationally, we give them the books that they study. And so when they make it, it's like a minimum of 5 years. And so during the ceremony, we give them an American flag, bookmark with the preamble
national anthem.
or some part of the Constitution, and a voter registration card. And then when it's done, we give them a party.
It's really fun.
We have cookies and candy, or cookies and
There's lots of treats.
sandwiches and coffee and punch,
And we get to
visit
know
with
them. We get
Yeah.
to know the new citizens of the United States. And it's a lovely time that we have the opportunity to then remember these different programs that are showed each month in our monthly meetings, and different projects, including doing socks and Santa things for our
Santa socks
veterans,
for the veterans.
and coffee for the veterans that we take up collections.
Yes, we
Things like
supply, at Christmas, instead of Christmas presents, we all bring coffees. And it goes to Fort Harrison, and then it is divvied out to the smaller veteran centers in the small towns,
And then
because they cannot buy coffee.
right, it's really difficult. And then we also have scholarships for the students that are Good Citizen Awards.
Good Citizen Awards are marvelous. They're given to an outstanding high school student. The student is chosen by the principal.
And this year we had 3 students from the Bitterroot chapter.
Yeah,
didn't
well, we had 4. But
Oh,
one
4,
came-
sorry.
But most years we have anywhere from 10 to 13.
And it was just amazing. We also have a newsletter called the Big Sky Banner, and we have this remembered in here. And there's our naturalization ceremony certificates, and a whole bunch of monthly programs that get shared within the chapter. And each one of these are remembered so that if you are coming to the Daughters of the, and we do have guests that are able to come to our programs and see and learn and be part of the different opportunities.
We have
But,
marvelous programs.
Yes, we do.
We really do have marvelous programs.
well, Blanche, tell me something. What does this mean to you?
Oh, gosh. It means an incredible amount. You can't believe all the wonderful feelings that you get and the satisfaction that you get from doing all of these things. I mean, it just sort of makes you warm inside.
And it's intergenerational, and it's educational, it's patriotic, and it's a place where we can celebrate being U.S. citizens. And if you'd like to be a member of the Daughters of the American Revolution, you can go to dar.org. And if you'd like to be a part of us here in Montana, you can go to montanadar.org, all spelled out, MONTNADAR.org. Thank you so much for being with us. We hope that you will celebrate your U.S. citizenship, learn more about your country, teach your children, and be a part of volunteering into your community, because that's how we do make this a wonderful place to live. Thank you. And if we do,
And we want a link to each of these caches next to the museum.
yes.
You know what we have in our museums? If you go to the Miles City, there's a marker there. Okay, the Miles City, it's called the Range Rider.